What's up, everybody? It's February 17th of 2021. Welcome back. We got a good one for you today. News breaking of the death of Rush Limbaugh, talk radio icon, dead at the age of 70 after a battle with cancer. In this video, we'll talk about how his death is connected to the recent Super Bowl, but really what this is the completion of some sort of ritual related to Vince Lombardi. This began on the 15th, and on the left side of your screen, we're looking at a post I made yesterday about the death of Vincent Jackson. Here you see Vincent Jackson in his Buccaneers uniform where he spent the second half of his career. Notice how he's wearing number 83. Vincent Jackson, born in the year 83. His name equals 83. He died in Brandon, Florida, which sums to 83 in that same reverse method. He's even from Colorado, which equals 83. So first we get the death of a Vince, and now we get the death of a man named Limbaugh. Well, the surname Limbaugh refers to natives of the town of Lombardy. So the death of a Vincent followed by the death of a Lombardi. All of this shortly after Tom Brady winning his 7th Vince Lombardi trophy. And think about how Brady was in the news recently for throwing the Lombardi trophy from one boat to another. All of this was staged as a nod to this big sacrifice ritual for Lupercalia that's connected to Vince Lombardi. Rush Limbaugh even died 10 days after Super Bowl 55. Not only was this Tom Brady's 10th Super Bowl, but the number 55 is both the 10th triangular and the 10th Fibonacci number. So we'll look at more about the Super Bowl connection, but we'll also take a look at how it's connected to the miracle on the Hudson. Rush Limbaugh, who is a third, by the way, has the middle name Hudson. You may recall an event, the Miracle on the Hudson, which featured a pilot named Sullenberger, who's also a third. We've been seeing a lot of these lately, these third characters, like Bill Gates. Notice how close Sullenberger's birthday is, January 23rd, 1951, to Rush Limbaugh, who was born on January 12th of 1951. First, let's talk a little bit more about Vincent Jackson, the first half of this double riddle. The date that he died leaves 319 days in the year. You may recall the Super Bowl finished with a score of 31-9. It was 3,109 days after the death of Andy Reid's son at Eagles training camp. The word killing equals 319. The numbers 38 and 83 are significant to murder, as you can see in the Murder by Numbers poster. The word murder equals 38 and 83. The Super Bowl was played on the 38th day of the year, and Vincent Jackson dead at the age of 38. He died on a date with numerology of 38 in Florida, which equals 38. This is a number of death as well. Vincent Jackson was from Colorado, which is the 38th state. I went over these 83s earlier. Notice also how Jackson died on the 46th day of the year. The name Jackson equals 73. Both of these numbers of sacrifice. Now in the reverse methods, 170 and 62 are numbers connected to Tampa Bay Buccaneers. He died in the state of Florida, which equals 170. And his death even is connected to Tom Brady. Again, he wore 83, born in 83. Well, Tom Brady was born on the date August 3rd, which is written 8/3. Meanwhile, Rush Limbaugh, born on January 12th of 1951, that's a date with primary numerology of 83. 83, the big football number. And we'll see how this connects to solar eclipses here as well. Now, Tom Brady has been in a lot of Super Bowls, 10 to be exact. His first Super Bowl was 36. Now, his most recent one was 55. So 55 minus 36 gives us 19. And this is a very significant number for the moon, which has a metonic cycle of 19 years. We often get a solar or lunar eclipse on the same date every 19 years apart. So Tom Brady's Super Bowl victory completed this metonic cycle riddle. The other major cycle that has to do with the moon is the Saros cycle. And this is the cycle that allows us to predict the next solar or lunar eclipse. This is a period of 223 lunar phases. 223 is the Hebrew value for the moon. And 223 is a number that's connected to Tom Brady in Gematria. Check out how the name Thomas Edward Patrick Brady sums to 223 in both English and Jewish ciphers. And an alignment like this is pretty uncommon. These ciphers do not have the same base numerology, the same order. Now, the number 223 is a prime number. See here, it's the 48th prime. Rush Limbaugh's death here falls on the 48th day of the year. So Tom Brady, like I said, we have this metonic cycle riddle with the moon, 19 years. So he first played in Super Bowl 36 and then 45. Super Bowl 36 was against the St. Louis Rams, a team from Missouri. This last Super Bowl was against the Kansas City Chiefs, another team from Missouri. So as this video goes along, we're going to talk about how this is connected to the Gateway Arch, the national monument that sits in St. Louis, Missouri. We'll see how this is connected to Trump's visit to Mount Rushmore. Think about how this connects to Rush Limbaugh. Remember, the Gateway Arch inaugurated in 1967. This was just several months after the very first Super Bowl. So when we take a look at the numerology of Vince Lombardi, born on June 11th, 1913, this means that on the date of the past Super Bowl and the death of Rush Limbaugh, whose name traces back to Lombardi, we find that Vince Lombardi would currently be 1,331 synodic months old. And if you follow my work, you understand that 1331 is my favorite number. This is the ultimate eclipse number. And check out how in the alphabetic order, Rush Hudson Limbaugh has matching 220 Gematria and total solar eclipse also with a 22. This last Super Bowl completing the 2020 season. 202 was coded into Rush Limbaugh's talk show, The Rush Limbaugh Show, which first aired 202 days after his birthday. And now if you measure from the 2020 total solar eclipse to the death of Rush, it's a span of 66 days. You may remember I did a post last January about the drummer from Rush. He died a span of 6 months, 6 days after a total solar eclipse that occurred when he was 66 years old. As I pointed out, Rush 66. But the numerology of this Rush Limbaugh show is very interesting. Notice how Rush Limbaugh died of cancer, and a number that connects death and cancer is 118. The Rush Limbaugh show first aired on the 1st of August in the year 88, which can be written 1888. Measuring from that date to the date that he died was 11,888 days later. 888 times 2 is 1776, a pretty big number, the year of the founding of the United States. Notice how the Rush Limbaugh show sums to 1776. From January 15th, 2009, the date of the miracle on the Hudson, to the death of Rush Hudson Limbaugh, you get another 1188 in the measurement. So this past Super Bowl was won by the Buccaneers, which sums to 37. Now, Rush Limbaugh was 37 years old when his talk show first debuted. Now, he's died a span of 37 days after his birthday. The name Limbaugh equals 37 in reduction. See how the name cancer, or the word cancer, 37 in reverse. Limbaugh was an icon of talk radio, 37. But focusing again on the gematria of Limbaugh, his name sums to 73, which is a number that we commonly see coded into stories about death. When Trump visited Mount Rushmore last year, you may recall that Trump and Limbaugh are pretty connected. At Trump's last State of the Union address, he gave Rush Limbaugh a Presidential Medal of Freedom, which is kind of a strange thing to do for a talk show host. But when you realize the Masonic connections behind the scenes, it tends to make a lot more sense. Well, when Trump visited Mount Rushmore, that happened on the date July 3rd, or 7/3, like the value of Limbaugh, 73 ordinal. July 3rd was the 185th day of a leap year. Donald John Trump equals 185. Rush Limbaugh equals 185. Now, when you look at Trump's age, 27,277 days old when Rush died, the name Limbaugh equals 277 in Latin gematria. Limbaugh also died in Palm Beach, Florida. And that's where Donald Trump's Mar-a-Lago resort is. Looking back at Trump's visit to Mount Rushmore, it happened on a date with primary numerology of 50. And the 50th prime number is 229. And this visit was 229 days before Limbaugh's death. Of course, 229, a number that connects us to 666, the 229th verse of Revelation, reveals the number of the beast as 636, and it even sums to 666 in gematria. Now again, 666 connected to Rush Limbaugh through his own name. Again, this is a third, the same as Sully Sullenberger, the pilot of the Miracle on the Hudson. The III is a 999 or an upside down 666. Earlier I pointed out how he died on the 48th day of the year. Well, this is also the reduction value of 666. And in reverse it equals 60. Today has primary numerology of 60. Check out how he also died 408 days after the Rush drummer, who died on a date with 48 numerology. And now Limbaugh dead on the 48th day of the year. So he's clearly connected to this, and what I think I may have missed, shame on me for this, Tom Brady summing to 118 in reverse. And again, this number popping up when measuring to Limbaugh's talk show. All right, so I tapped into the idea that this was related to the eclipse code And of course, the game of football itself and the National Football League was essentially created by eclipse numerology. And in that post, I talk about how the first Super Bowl, which occurred in the year 67, was a total solar eclipse riddle. Total solar eclipse 67. The NFL represented the merging of the AFC and the NFC. See how this sums to 33 and 69? That's like eclipse. 69 and 33. So again, Rush Limbaugh is from Missouri. His hometown of Cape Girardeau is just down the Mississippi River from the St. Louis Gateway Arch. Check out how Gateway Arch equals 185, just like Rush Limbaugh. And remember, this is a riddle connected to national monuments. Trump's visit to Mount Rushmore was to address, he's railing against the removal of monuments. And here we're talking about a number of monuments, Mount Rushmore for one, the Gateway Arch for another. We'll be talking about Devil's Tower in a second, the first national monument. But don't forget, the Miracle on the Hudson happened right near the Statue of Liberty, another significant monument, which I've been talking about in videos recently. So when we look at the Gateway Arch from Missouri, which is Rush Limbaugh's home state, we see the number 630 appear twice. Not only is it 630 feet high, but it's also 630 feet wide. When construction on the arch began in 1963, the St. Louis Arch Rush Limbaugh was 630 weeks old. He was also exactly 145 months old, which is the Gematria of St. Louis Arch, 145. 145 is also in the value of Devil's Tower, the first ever national monument. We'll connect this in a second. But if you measure from the date that the Gateway Arch was finished, the date that the keystone was placed on top, measuring from that date to the death of Rush Limbaugh was 20,201 days. And guys, as I've been talking about, the Gateway Arch in St. Louis was constructed for the two 2021 arch eclipses. These rare eclipses will be moving west to east. The Gateway Arch was built to celebrate east to west expansion in the United States. The Gateway Arch was inaugurated on June 10th, which is the date of the first arch eclipse, exactly 54 years earlier. Sun is 54, arch is 54, sun arch is 54. The Gateway Arch was completed in the year 65. Now, Rush Limbaugh has died exactly 65 days after the most recent total solar eclipse. Notice how Mount Rushmore is 65 in reduction. So check out how this eclipse path moves through northern Canada. You'll see these islands in the Hudson Bay and near Greenland. That part of Canada has an area code of 867. This eclipse also ends in Russia. Think about how that's connected to the name Rush. But this area code of 867 is very significant to this riddle. The first ever national monument, Devil's Tower, stands at 867 feet tall. And when Rush Limbaugh died, he was exactly 867 lunar phases old. If you measure from his death to this first arch eclipse, you get 113 days. And 113 is essentially the primary number of deception. Think about how Rush Limbaugh built his wealth on mainstream broadcasting. Mainstream 113, broadcasting 113. The number 113 is connected to the word lie, not just through these words in Gematria, but it kind of looks like the number 113. Another number that looks like lie is the number 317. Think about the word flipped upside down, lie, right? A lot like 317. In fact, the word lie flipped upside down equals 317. And then Rush Limbaugh died on the date, leaving 317 days in the year. And I've always felt like this wasn't a coincidence, this phrase, the word lie flipped upside down. It's too convenient. But check out the 277 Gematria. Limbaugh equals 277. Rush Limbaugh had primary birth numerology of 83 and 29. Check out how conservative radio equals 83 and radio equals 29. Both of these numbers are connected to solar eclipse and total eclipse in Hebrew, 83 and 209. When the Gateway Arch was completed, it was a span of 290 days after Rush Limbaugh's birthday. He's now died 290 days before the second arch eclipse. He also died a span of 29 days after Trump left office. And of course, Trump, the last conservative president, probably for quite some time. One more connection to the St. Louis Arch. In Gematria, St. Louis, Missouri sums to 67, like the year that the arch was inaugurated. It also sums to 167, and Rush Limbaugh died 167 days before Tom Brady's birthday. But this 238 is another number I like to teach about. The moon is an average of 238,000 miles from the Earth. And 666, a number connected to the moon, sums to 2038. Well, Rush Limbaugh was born January 12th, which makes him a Capricorn. And Capricorn is ruled by Saturn, the sixth planet from the sun. Tomorrow, Rush Limbaugh would be exactly 2.38 Saturnian years old. And of course, like I said, Saturn, the sixth planet, the moon connected to 666. This 29 that I just mentioned also, consider how the moon has an orbital period of 29 days. Saturn takes 29 years to orbit the sun. So if you haven't seen my posts on the St. Louis Arch and its relation to the 2021 Arch eclipses, please do so. This is a big deal with the whole transgender movement. Remember, we had this Tyler Rex character come out. This was 67 days after Elliot Page became a male. This person became the name Gabby Tuft. Tuft equals 67. Tyler Rex, Gabby Tuft, 221, the year of the 2021 eclipses. Tyler Rex will be 221 days after her birthday, on the date of the Arch eclipse. You add these names together, you also get 1967, like the year that the St. Louis Arch was inaugurated. So we caught the theme in December with Elliot Page, who was born on the date February 21st or 221. And now we've really seen the whole 221 thing take off. All right, so I think I covered pretty much everything in here. The moon riddles with Tom Brady. I'm not sure if I pointed out that Vince Lombardi's middle name was Thomas, which is a big reason why we have this Thomas Brady riddle, the greatest of all time, the GOAT. And in regards to Brady being the GOAT, Rush Limbaugh, who just recently died, was a Capricorn, and a Capricorn is represented by the GOAT. Vincent Jackson, the other Lombardi sacrifice, also a Capricorn, another goat. Both of these men dying during the week of Lupercalia, a festival of sacrifice which is celebrating by the killing of goats. Sacrifices of goats and a dog. And in fact, Vincent Jackson was born in the year of the dog. What about Rush Limbaugh? So it was the year of the rabbit, but did that start after January 12th? I'm not sure. Oh, a tiger. How about that? That's been the big theme of the coronavirus, but I'm sure Bobby would have more on that. Shout out again to him and his blog for helping to put this work together. All right, guys. Thanks for tuning in. Peace, love, God bless, and talk to you next time. See ya.